I'm very, very excited because Barry Floyd, I consider a good friend of mine. He is from New York City. He is a fantastic human being in every way. And he has been a cornerstone of the Hearing Voices movement in New York City from the very beginning, trying to figure out how to get groups established. He is the first person to be a voice hearer to run a group in New York City, and has been very, very, yeah, he deserves, yes. He's been instrumental at getting things going and moving within the city. And according to his bio, he started hearing voices when he was 3 years old and has gone through a lot of stuff to get to where he is today. And we are, I shouldn't say we, but I am definitely very, very, very privileged, feel very privileged to be able to learn from him and the wisdom and the experience that he's about to bring to you all. So without further ado, Barry Floyd.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Barry A. Floyd. I tell you what the A is later. For right now, I'm not going to tell you what it is. I guess I went to visit my sisters and brother in Georgia back in 2015. When I got there, I spoke to them like 2 years prior to that about my voices. They really heard what I was saying, but they didn't pay too much attention to it. But when I went to visit them, I began to discuss what my voices has done to me. And then they looked at me in a solemn face that they had, and they said, "My God, I didn't know it played such a part in your life." Like I said, they told me that I've been hearing voices since I was 3 years old. They would say, "Barry, who are you talking to?" I said, "My voices. What are y'all talking about? We're just talking about nothing. We just talk all the time." At that particular time, my voices were nice to me. They wasn't mean and nothing like that. They used to help me build model airplanes and cars and everything. They were very creative. But what happened back in 1967, a riot broke out in Detroit, and that's when my voices became very mean at that particular time. I had 5 best friends, and they were all white. We used to go to parks together. We used to go to the beach together. We spent a lot of time with each other. But when the riot broke out, they sent troops to my neighborhood in big trucks and everything. They took all the white people off the block. Before they got Judy and Ida, I ran down and said, "Judy, Ida, where y'all going?" And they just looked at me. They didn't say anything. And the National Guard looked at me and said, "Get away, nigga, before I blow your freaking brains out." I just left there crying and said, "What happened?" From then on, I figured I'd become like politically active. I joined the Black Panthers, and I protested the Vietnam War. I protested Kent State. I figured if I kept my voices active and don't let them get the best of me. But what happened when the Black Panthers was dismantled, that's when all hell broke out, because it's like I had no home again. I had no people in my life. I had no one to help me. And that was very hard for me. And then the death of JFK, Martin Luther King, Malcolm X. And I felt so alone. And then that's when my voice said, "You see, everybody leaves you. You're not a good person." I said, "But I am a good person." "You're not a good person. I'm going to take care of you." I said, "But who are you?" "I'm your voice." I said, "But it's about 5 of you up in there." I said, "We're going to take care of you." Believe it or not, I had 22 voices in my head. And one time this person asked me to tell me about the voices. So I began to tell them, they all had names and stuff like that. When I got to 12, he said, "You can stop now." But my voices, they were just mean to me. I got into a lot of trouble at that particular time. And most important, I got in trouble with the law. I had a lot of problems with the police and the thing about it, my voices were very sophisticated. I would get into trouble. I would go before a DA. My voices said, "Just keep your mouth shut. Just hold on. I'm going to talk for you." And I got out of everything, believe it or not. And I had some serious charges faced against me. But my voices, I would take care of you. And they pretty much did in a wrong way. They took care of me. I'm glad I never went to prison, though. But that was a blessing part of that. As time went on, I began to struggle because I had nobody. My parents were doing pretty good. and my father was a millwright at Chrysler, and my mother worked at General Lenning. At the age of 13, I was on the picket line, and I would get people when I would go to the room. I was drinking and drugging at the age of 10, 11. I was on the picket line at the age of 13, fighting for higher wages, fighting for work conditions for the people. And my mother took me out here. She had me do this because my parents were very political. I struggled with them, and then eventually, at the age of, I think I was 15, I attempted suicide. They took me to the hospital and they pumped my stomach. But I never went to the hospital, no psych wards, no nothing, because back then, blacks didn't believe in going to psychiatrists. Blacks didn't believe in seeing psychologists. Blacks didn't believe in seeing therapists. Blacks didn't believe in nothing. It was always grandma would take care of you. So I went to grandma and said, Grandma, I got a problem. Something's wrong with me. I be hearing things and stuff like that. And then what they decided to do, they felt I was in a toxic household because my parents were going back and forth with each other. So what they did, they sent me to New York. I got to New York. I got a job at Blue Cross and Blue Shield. I worked there for about 6 months, and I went to my uncle and said, Uncle Al, I have to come home. He said, why? I said, I can't tell you. The reason I came home because my voices told me to come back and kill my father. So I left New York and came back. My father was acting all nicey for some strange reason, nothing. So a calm voice said, just leave him alone. Eventually, my parents separated, and once again, I was all by myself again. And then I became a heroin addict again. I think I've been on heroin like 5 times or so. It was actually a great drug for me because my voices didn't talk to me. But I decided to get married. My voices told me to get married. I said, I want you to marry this woman. Her name was Venus Renee Mason, and I want you to leave her. I said, that doesn't make any sense. Why would I marry her? I want you to make her feel like a fool and feel bad and ugly about herself. I said, but that is not right. That doesn't make any sense to me. You do what I say. I own you. I control your life. I tell you what to do. And I did what the voices told me. We got married October the 15th, 1977. By November the 21st, we were separated. I was out of there. Because my voices told me this is what you have to do. After that, I had a child was born, Lakeisha. I have a daughter named Lakeisha and Kalisha. Why that happened, I do not know. So what I ended up doing, I ended up moving to California. When I got to California, I went to this place called Synanon. I picked up the art of running. I used to run up and down hills in Marin County and just trying to get rid of my voices. And it actually worked for me. For about 4 years, I didn't hear voices anymore. I came back to New York City because my father had passed. And when I was in Synanon, I wanted to come to the funeral, but I couldn't come to the funeral because there was a price on my head because like my voice had me do so many wild things in Detroit and things like that. I always ask them, why do you want me to act this way? This is not what I want to do. But they said, but we own you. We control your life. You have no say-so in your life whatsoever. And so when I started running, I came back to New York, I was running up to 15 miles a day. I did this 7 days a week. We kept the voices down, we kept them drilling and running and basically for me and everything like that. And then I went back, I got a job again as a program coordinator. From a program coordinator, I set up dance programs and after-school programs. We had photography, not photography, but we had a lot of activities going on. And that was short-lived also because what had happened, this person got raped, and I was told not to walk her home. And I looked at the guy, you're crazy, I'm gonna walk her home. And the voice said, don't pay no attention to that guy. So I walked her home, and I was actually terminated because of my service, because I did not want her to get hurt. And then after that, my life began to spiral down again. I think my life spiraled down at least 20 times, I guess, or like that. So what I did then, I got a job in Coney Island. I developed after-school program, I developed chess programs, evening programs, tutorial programs. And it worked in my favor. I did pretty good out there. And, like I had outreach programs going on and everything for the people to help people with drug addiction to get their life back in order. Also ran a parenting group and a teenage pregnancy group also. That group was hard because you had people coming at the age of 12 and 13 that were pregnant. And none of them, they were never with their boyfriends or whatever the case may be. And we just used to talk about things, actually. It wasn't my first experience with a group, though. My first experience in a group was actually in 2000, and I was in 1976. I worked at a drug treatment program, an outpatient program. I had a caseload of 60 people, and that was my first experience with groups. My name was not Barry. They called me every name but Barry because I was only 21 years old, and they figured I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I too just got off of heroin, but these people are 30, 40, 50, and 60. It was my experience, and I said I would like to do this forever, and that's when I started the parenting program out in Coney Island. As time went on, that job was short-lived also because every time I got a job, my voices stopped me from working. They would go to acting crazy, they would go to acting silly. I went to 3 different colleges because of my voices. I dropped out of college. I was studying being a psychologist because of my voice. I dropped out of college. And they would tell me, we own you. We do not want you to succeed at all whatsoever. And I was just like, I didn't look at them, but I wish I could look at them and say, why are you doing this to me? I did nothing to you. And we'd always argue back and forth. I did nothing to deserve that. They said, that's not the problem. We own you. We tell you what to do. Fast forwarding, I guess what ended up happening, what did happen? So much didn't happen. I guess I went to Dr. Jessica Arnella, I think that's what it was after. And she was good with me. And I told her one day, she said, I can help you, because I was in the psych ward again. Because what had happened, I moved to Schenectady to kick my drug addiction. I got a call from their mother and said, Barry, come get your kids. I said, are you out of your rabbit freaking mind? I'm on heroin, I'm on crack, I'm on dope, I'm on everything. What am I gonna do with 2 girls? She said, come get them. And she said, you got 3 days to come down here. And I came down in 3 days, but that was in 2003 or 4. And actually, I never looked back on drugs and alcohol. I'll be celebrating 14 years coming up really soon and stuff like that. But my hardest challenge was raising 2 daughters. And one of my daughters back in 2004, we were just like talking. We had an argument. And she said, by the way, I'm gay. I said, where in the hell did that come from? I said, and then the voices said, it's your fault she's gay because she don't want no man. It's your fault you did this and did that. I said, but I didn't do anything. I was a pretty decent parent. So I started going to programs that dealt with adolescent gay women and gay kids and stuff like that. It was very helpful. And they told me, sir, it's not your fault that she's gay. I said, are you sure? You sure I didn't do that? No, you had no control over that. We were standing in the shelter, and that's when my daughter looked at me. Before I was staying with their godmother, and my daughter looked at me and said, you don't look too good. I said, what do you don't look too good? I'm taking you to the hospital. And she took me to the Methodist hospital. When I got to the Methodist hospital, Dr. Cohen just looked at me. She said, I'm not happy to see you. And I just said, oh, okay. I just sat there. She had me sit there for 2 hours. But she spoke to my daughter and said, something's wrong with my father. And she came back and said, your daughter saved your life. To this day, and from there I got a call from Dr. Jessica Arnella. That's that played itself out. She said, I want to help you. I said, but your number is white so-and-so, so how can you help me? But she said, I'm a white so-and-so, I can back my play. Oh, God, what I have in my hand here. And we began, and she told me, I see you at 4 o'clock. And that was the beginning of my journey. After 2 years or so, I told her about my voices, and we began to discuss about my voices, what I was hearing and stuff like that. But most important, she helped me. She took me to voice hearing groups. She took me on speaking engagements and everything like that. I used to always say, what is wrong with this woman? Does she know who I am? I'm crazy, I'm Barry. I hear voices. It's like they're violent sometimes. But Jessica was never scared of me for some strange reason. I don't know why. I used to look at her sometimes. I told her one day, I'll squash you like a grape. She said, whatever. And I sit down. Now, what is your problem? So many years has passed basically after that. And she was very helpful towards me, like I continued to raise my daughters. But the hardest part raising two daughters with voices, I couldn't cook, I couldn't boil water, but I could get up and go to work. I would get up at 3 o'clock in the morning and sell newspapers so my daughters would have money to go back and forth to school. And I did this on a regular basis and stuff like that. The problem was my medication never worked through my system. So I woke up like actually drunk when I used to go sell a newspaper. And my life began to get better. It actually got better. And that's what the A stands for, I have arrived. I arrived in my life for the first time ever. I didn't know what it was like to be president for my life. I didn't have a clue what it is to be president. And then she introduced me to Noel Hunter and Maria Hansen. And I said, these are my two best friends. I talk about them all the time, basically, a lot of time. And I used to say to them, Barry, they don't like you. I said, but they do. No, they don't. They don't like you. They're just putting up with you. I said, but they like me. Because I wasn't used to being liked by anybody, because I'd rather be feared rather than to be loved. And that's how my voices wanted me to act that way. And then I found loving Noel and Maria. It was like a really cool feeling. And thanks to Jessica for all that. And now I put cards on the table. I'm a life skill consultant and a mental health specialist because I found out what my journey is to help people. That's all I can do. I can't do manual labor. I just don't do manual labor. I started doing manual labor when I was 15 years old. I have good people in my life. I had the vice president at Fox 5, Byron Harmon. I had Ken Dudek, who's the president of, what is that place? Fountain House. And I had really good people in my life. And that was something new for me, to have really good people. I used to tell people I have a best support group, better than Obama had support group was, because people was always there for me. It's just like wonderful to have good people in your life. And things are different for me because I'm not really hearing voices. I don't miss them, but it's like I feel somewhat empty sometimes because there's nobody to talk to. Some were good, some were bad, but the good voices, it's like 3 years ago, true story, believe it or not, I was sitting on the edge of my bed, and then I began to have visual effects. It was the Inquisition. It was 12 people standing in front of me with gray robes, and they had black faces. And they said, you won. I was like, what? And I said, what did I win? You won. To the far right was a voice, it was a body standing there. This would be your guide voice. And that voice began to guide me. It guided me into a lot of good areas and things like that. But what happened, the guide voice only lasted for like 7 months or so. And then I was left up to my own devices. I never had an original thought, ever. My voice did the thinking for I had to think for myself. I had to think for my daughters sometimes. I had to think for everybody. And it was uncommon for me. And the funny thing about it, people listen to me. Y'all have to listen to me right now because y'all out there. But it's really good to be part of my life, a good participant of my life. And many times I wanted to run away. And many times it was very uncomfortable. And when I attempted suicide with 15, believe it or not, 4 followed. 5 attempts of suicide. I did not want to be here. I thought the world was ugly, it was mean, and it was very hateful. I didn't want no parts of this. I just didn't want to be here. My last attempt at suicide, I speak to somebody, was 1992, believe it or not. And the doctor told me, he said, if you don't talk about it, it's going to happen again. And years later, that's when I ran into Dr. Jessica Arnella. I began to talk, because I had talk therapy with her. We talk about a lot of things and stuff like that. And to this day, it's like I have so much love and gratitude towards her because she meant the world to me. And I actually, I used to piggyback off of her as what would Jessica do, what would Jessica think. And then I started when Noelle got her license to be a psychologist. I said, what would Noelle do in this case like this? She's a psychologist now. I was so happy for her when she got it. Maria is working on her. It's like a really wonderful feeling. And it's good for the first time to say, to be alive. Like a month ago, I went to Miami with my daughters and their mother. And for the first time, believe it or not, I'm 63, first time I had fun. I had no voices. But they kept asking me, Daddy, are you all right? And the mother, are you all right? Because they knew how I do in certain settings sometimes. Like they knew I was a voice here. But my daughters don't believe I'm a voice here. My daughters don't believe I have a disability because I'm their father. The thing's not supposed to be wrong with him. I went to my daughter 2 years ago. I said, Kiana. She said, yes, Dad. My voices are talking to me. They want me to jump off her bread. She said, what bread you want, Daddy? You want the Verrazano, the George Washington bread? Pick your choice of bread. Which one you want? Because they never fed into my weakness or my sickness. That's what made them strong. But once again, I have a complete life today. It's complete. And I never thought I would get here. I just didn't. I would tell Jessica, my life is over with it, Barry. Your life has just begun. I said, but how do you live a life at the age of 63? I left 3 colleges. It's like, what do you do? And then she began to send me to a training program. And that worked in my favor. I discovered I like working with people to hear voices. And because I get a joy, I'm not trying to change them, but get them more or less to identify with the voices. Like they say, Ron Coleman said, voices are real. Voices are real to me. My voices were very mean and nasty towards me. And I don't like them. I just didn't like them. Now my daughter works as a beautician. She has her own car. She has her own apartment. My other daughter haven't left yet. I'd be glad when she goes because she makes me crazy all the time. But they're very good with me. And we're good with each other. Some people felt that me and my daughter was too close. Not in a sexual manner, they felt it was too close. All we had was each other. We had nobody but ourselves and stuff like that. And we depended on each other for a lot of things. We made decisions with each other. They tried to make decisions about my life, because my daughter called me last night. And she said, it's going to be good, Daddy. Jessica texted me last night also. And it's like, it's great to have people. So I think I got 5 minutes left. What can I say in 5 minutes? But like I said, the A stands for arrive. I'm present in my life today. It's a wonderful feeling to be part of my life. I was never associated with my life. I'm disassociated from my voices, and I don't miss them, but sometimes I miss the nice voices because my voices work in a different manner, and that is they keep me lonely all the time. But Jessica said, Barry, look at the people, change your perspective. Just change your perspective, that's all you have to do. So I began to change my perspective and discover I'm not lonely or wanting from anything. She wants me to get a job, Dr. Jessica Andela, you know. And I told her I want to work on my life skill consultant, things like that, a mental health specialist. But her biggest fear was that me having downtime, because I don't do good with downtime, because my voices come back. But this time they didn't come back. And it's an honor to be here, and it's very good to see all of you. And I met some beautiful people here today. In the last couple of days, I met some beautiful people also. And I feel honored that Noelle chose me to do this, whoever did it, HVN. So aside from that, I got nothing. Thank you.